Good evening, Rusk enjoyers. Hope you're right, 'cause it's time for a profit review. Last week we discussed the May 1, 2025 Rust Store, the Force Wipe Rust rotation that introduced the jungle update, and that means today we're here to talk about the May 8 Rust Store. So sit back, relax, and I start yapping. What was my initial reaction when I first saw this Rust Store? Here's all the skins. Literally the previous week, of course you would have seen the previous video, look at all the skins we got. And now we've only got 8. Well, you know what, maybe they had to even it out, balance it out. Okay, fair enough. Previous week, ridiculous amount of skins. This week, a little bit more, reserved. So, okay, 8 skins, still fine. Perhaps they were realising maybe people spent a little bit too much money last week on all those skins, considering the amount of purchases. Maybe we should calm down a bit. Anyway, look at all the skin variety. It was interesting to see that all the skins were still committed to the jungle themes. So, previously in the year, we saw like the primitive update, we saw the cooking update, but theme skins around those updates, so primitive, medieval theme skins and whatnot, that only really lasted like a week. And then with the cooking update, we only really saw cooking theme skins for about a week or so. Still see the occasional bee skins, what with the introduction of beehives and whatnot, but the point still remains, it really did look like Face Punch was committed to continue with the jungle theme skins throughout the month of May. So, okay, that's cool, that's a nice thing to be aware of. So looking at the actual skins, oh boy, another garage door, another sheepman door. We were really desperate for those, especially after the previous week. But yeah, still, they do match up quite nicely with the jungle building skins, so that was a nice thing to see. Jungle tomb sleeping bag. I was fully well aware that we already had like a whole bunch of green sleeping bags because I literally brought them all out, tested them out, compared them in the jungle. And then another one appears, so okay, you know what, that's nice, affordable, approachable, $2. I would be surprised if a lot of people were going to go ahead and buy that. I was feeling pretty optimistic for it, because not only was I personally testing it in the jungle, I was also looking around seeing if it worked nicely in the grassy fields and the plains of like the open fields and forests and whatnot in Rust. It looked like it worked perfectly. Looking at all these weapons, well, we've got a nice variety. Another salvage sword, green python, green double barrel shotgun, green weapons. Okay. So, during this whole time period, people were really hoping to see some green clothing and armor. Like I said, it was very nice to see that Face Punch was committed to jungle theme skins. But so many people were crossing their fingers and hoping to see some jungle theme green clothing and armor being accepted. Well, it didn't happen this week. Surely next week, right? So, overall, yeah, it was nice to see that. Would it actually hold up, though? That was the big question. Another sap skin has appeared, a very creative Tropico sap with the big bird, the beak and whatnot. That looked cool. That was very appealing. And then we have this Seeker AR, the Heat Seeker AK47. A very interesting design made by Vase, which you'd most likely know of, the man behind the Respawn Allegory Fresco rug. Yes. That was my skin of the year for 2024, voted by you. Now, that's unofficial, just to point out. But anyway, that was a very cool looking design. Apparently, the Predator, the Predator films and whatnot, the vision that you see there is supposed to resemble that. So it was a nice reference. Very cool jungle theme skin with the tiger standing out. Very interesting, unique colour scheme. But the one thing that really caught our eye was the very strange aim sight. Now, it's not like fully transparent, but it was creatively transparent. It was a very odd design. Now, let me remind you, it's not the first time we've seen some transparency in an AK-47, and that wasn't even the best transparency we've ever seen in an AK-47. But it was unique, it was interesting, it was very cool looking design and whatnot, but would it actually be a unique AK-47 that was actually going to end up in the positive? For an AK-47 to actually become a nice positive, a nice investment, it really does have to stand out. Earlier this year, we did see the Seeker AK47, bright pink anime go on the side. Well, that did very well, but that's the only AK up to this point where we actually saw an AK in the positive. So would that somehow be different? Now, if you're questioning, why did I spend so much time talking about that? Well, you know why. Don't you worry, we'll get to it. But the point I wanted to get across was, back then, not all of us were like super sure that it was going to be A-OK. But keep an eye on that. So yes, smaller Rust Store, but overall, out of all these skins, we have to question now, what was the predictions? Like, what was actually looking to be very appealing? What did we think was potentially going to be the best investment for this week? So if I were to quickly hop over to here, so I'm looking at all the skins, I'm making considerations. You can see me yapping away here. What a lovely, lively looking man that is. So I was just to zoom in a little bit more. At this specific point, Jungle Tomb Sleeping Bag, over 6,000 subscribers. People really did like it. People really did see it potentially being very useful and beneficial in the likes of forests, in the likes of jungle. Like, I tested it out. I put it all around and under various different plants, different grass and whatnot. Compared it to some other green sleeping bags, which if I can just quickly remind you of, if I could just quickly go back over to here, I will remind you that there was a lot of other green sleeping bags, but the prices did somewhat vary. So scrolling down, we had the Firefly sleeping bag, but that glows. It's not exactly a super useful thing to have outside, but then you could look at like the fish bag, which was very similar price back then, $2. We could scroll down a bit more. You could look at like the forest camo bag, but that was $12. Well, actually no, that was a bit of a different price back then, but point still remains it was a higher price. So yes, there's other options. Free Folk Bedroll, that was the skin I was comparing it with, because that was literally $2. So, okay, it's not like the Jungle Tomb sleeping bag was completely unique, completely all by itself, but it was interesting. It was in the roster right there and then, and it was selling quite prominently. So I was looking at it, I was questioning it, but even then, I still thought the sap was the most reliable thing. Yep. So, Tropico Sap. Out of all the weapons that we see, sap skins tend to be very, very reliable. We don't tend to see that many of them being accepted. But that, with its very cool, unique approach, very cool, unique design, I honestly thought that was going to be the most reliable thing to consider buying. Now, I didn't expect it to be huge gains. I didn't expect it to be huge losses. I thought it was just going to retain quite nicely. Out of all the skins, what was most likely going to retain its value, the sap was the sap was it. Then I talked about the Jungle Tomb sleeping bag. So I was giving you all the hype and whatnot, but still, I still felt the sap was the most reliable thing. The Jungle Tomb sleeping bag selling so much got me a little bit concerned. I thought it might sell a little bit too excessively, because again, if I could just quickly reference back to the Free Folk bag. So do I still have the link to that? Oh, it's Control-Shift-T. Only 55 subscribers, but as time went on, there's very likely a decent amount of these in circulation, and it was still the same price as the Jungle Tomb sleeping bag. Which one's most likely going to retain its value? So yeah, that was the dilemma I was thinking of. I was like, I'm not sure, I'm getting worried. So anyway, back over to here. It was interesting, but I had to be a fair bit, like, cautious. Now, looking at the remaining skins, I talked about the Croco double barrel shotgun. A nice dark green design, very cool creative approach, look cool, look nice. I honestly thought people were going to look at it with some positivity and would actually see a double barrel shotgun skin actually do nicely in the positive. But I was fully well aware the double barrel shotgun skins we had up to this point, they weren't looking very good. And the interesting designs we had from the previous year, like Dragon Rage and Thunder Gold, even they were in the negative. I had to be cautious. But this right here, that's a green double barrel shotgun. Loads of people could just hide in bushes, pounce upon unsuspecting individuals passing by. It felt like something that was going to work quite nicely. I honestly thought with its very cool design like so, that it would work out quite alright. So, that's why I brought it up as the third thing to mention. Then I talked about the Seeker AK. So this was all by its lonesome self. We didn't know what was going to happen next. It looked cool. It was the second best selling skin up to this point, so clearly there was interest. Clearly people did like what they were seeing. But at $3, it's a bit questionable. I was a bit worried. Wasn't sure of it. I wasn't 100% convinced. So, yeah, I brought it up then, but I still wasn't sure of it. And then for the remaining skins, so like for both the doors, considering we literally just had garage doors, 2 garage doors and 2 sheep doors the previous week, which then kind of quickly went down in price, I was under the impression that these two probably wouldn't sell that much. Maybe it might be a little bit better, but $3 and standard $1.49 price, even then, I thought both of those would drop off. And then you have the Python and the Salvage Sword. Unfortunately, all Pythons in general, unless they have a transparent aim sight, they go down pretty bad. And Salvage Swords, they go down pretty bad. I just didn't have any faith for them. So, yeah, that was pretty straightforward. So let's hop over to here and discuss the first 24 hours of sales. So, Jungle Tomb sleeping bag, just over, just under 11,000 subscribers. Sorry about that. Then it was followed by the Heat Seeker AK47 with 7,600 subscribers. And then there's Tech Garage Store 6,000, then it just kind of drops off. So, Jungle Tomb sleeping bag, I was making estimates and I thought that was probably going to do maybe around 25,000 subscribers. It was selling quite nicely. As I said, it really did feel like people were buying it out of genuine wants, out of genuine needs. I've got to have a nice, useful green camouflage sleeping bag. It's going to be super beneficial to me. So that was what I was under the impression of. But the Heat Seeker AK, at $3 price, still we've got 7,600 subscribers. People were liking it. People were approving. But was it actually going to hold up? Compared to the previous week, we saw absolutely ridiculous amount of sales, didn't we, for the first 24 hours? Is this going to actually be okay? Well, there's going to be a discussion about that in a bit, don't you worry. But now, let's hop over to here, because we need to discuss what did we do in terms of prices with the abnormal barders. So over to here we are on the night, and, well, in about 20 or so hours, the roster will rotate, and the Jungle Tomb sleeper bag has 24,000 subscribers. Heat Seeker AK47, 18,000 subscribers. Aztec Garage Door, 15,000 subscribers. Crooked Double Barrel Shotgun, just over 11,000 subscribers. They all sold somewhat nicely, not too ridiculously, but even then that Jungle Tomb sleeping bag still felt like it might have been just a little bit too much. Definitely one of the highest selling sleeping bags we've seen in the game. Not the very tippy top, but still quite a lot. So I still have my concerns. Anyway, what prices did we suggest? So I was looking at all the skins, I was making considerations. I looked at the Jungle Tomb sleeper bag. I thought about it. $2 skin. Is it too excessive with the sales? I went with the consideration of doing 80 cents to $1.20. Halfway and just above. I thought as time goes on, maybe we will see quite a lot of them on the Steam market. Maybe there could be some troubles. Might not happen instantly over the course of the summer, but eventually, maybe around October time, the autumn fall seasonal dip. Yeah, that could probably drop off, and that probably won't be looking so appealing right about then. But would it rebound and work out? Could we see collection continuations? You never know. So, yeah. Now, I was fully well aware up to this point. I'm pretty sure we saw a large box being submitted, so there was attempts to continue the collection. So, okay, fair enough. We'll see how that'd go. But, yeah, the sales were a concern. So that's why I went just about halfway. Heat Seeker AK47, a $3 skin, sitting there at 18,000 subscribers. I thought about it. I questioned it. Cool design, unique. I just still wasn't convinced it was going to be A-OK. I still wasn't convinced it was going to be perfectly fine. But we did see a very interesting collection continuation appearing. The collection continuation just so happened to have a very interesting transparent aim sight. Well, there's two options actually, standard version and a transparent aim sight. Now I'll talk about that weapon in a bit, but point was I was aware that there was a collection continuation potentially that could appear. Looking at that AK, I made my considerations. I said $1.20 to $1.80. Not all the way up to 2/3 of the price, but still close. I thought the AK at its worst might drop off down to around $2. It looked cool. I just still had to question, would it actually hold? So, yeah, wouldn't try to play it somewhat safe, but still past the halfway point with its price. Aztec Garage Door, well, $3 skin, still wasn't convinced. It felt like there's far too many garage doors up to this point in this year, so I went with 90 cents to $1.30. Crooked Double Barrel Shotgun, I had some positivity with this. At $2.49, I thought, you know what, a lot of people are going to greatly appreciate a nice green double barrel shotgun. In comparison, there was one other dark green double barrel shotgun skin we had in the game, which was the bamboo double barrel. However, that only did like 5,000 subscribers. Really not that much. That right there was sitting there with just over 11,000 subscribers. Would the Crooked Double Barrel Shotgun emulate the behaviour of the bamboo double barrel shotgun, or is bamboo succeeding simply due to the sheer lack of options available? So I thought about it, questioned it, and I went with $1 to $1.50. Predator Sword, the salvage sword, $3 skin, wasn't selling that much, didn't seem like it was in demand. I questioned it, I thought about it, and, well, even though it sold like next to nothing with just barely over 6,000 subscribers, still, yeah, Savage Swords in general just weren't doing good. So many of them down to around $1 and less. So I suggested going with a 60 cent to 80 cent buy order. And then for the skins that weren't abnormal, so looking at the Aztec Rock Door, didn't sell that much, but still I didn't have that much faith. So I suggested 60 cents to 80 cents. The Tropico Sap, I thought about it, I questioned it. I was like, again, sticking with what I've seen with most Sap skins in general, I didn't really expect it to drop off that much. I didn't really expect it to rise up in price that much. I just expected it to be reliable. So I suggested $1 to $1.50. A perfectly fine thing to pick up for a cheaper price, wait it out, maybe sell a few here and there if you need to get some quick funds. It felt reliable. And then we have the Jungle Bite Python. Unfortunately, I have no faith in Python skins, and people just don't seem to appreciate the Python item itself, the weapon itself. So was the justification to own skins. So I went with 60 cents to 80 cents. Cool. So that was everything that needs to be said. So how did everything turn out? What were the outcomes? So I'm going to go through these in the order of the top selling skin. Jungle Tomb Sleeping Bag. Whilst there's many attempts to continue it as a collection, it didn't happen. And yet still, it's just about perfectly in the positive. If you bought these for $2, you can sell them right now and get your money back. It is not ridiculous on the Steam market in terms of listings. The bars are there to keep the price up. It's doing okay. People appreciate, people like, it has done pretty good. Now, it was a higher price somewhat recently. Yeah, that kind of happened for a while. I think someone's doing some buyouts. But I will sit here and say, prices have kind of dipped as we've gone through June 2025. A bit unfortunate, but there wasn't really that much going for June. There was no big update like the Jungle update for May. But whilst this initially did have a few hiccups, whilst it did somewhat dip for a while, it has just basically remained stable above $2. There's enough demand to keep the price up. There's enough support to make sure that happens as well. That very likely might just slowly, progressively go up in price. But there are other green options for sleeping bags out there. I really don't see it really going up in price that much. And as I did allude to, right now, this is how it is at the moment. Retaining value. How's this going to look when, well, the kids go back to school? September, October, November, the autumn-fall seasonal dip. Keep an eye on that. What you can also do is when you're on the SCMN website, click the actual pictures and you can see how many of them on third-party sites. 42 listings on Skinport, 10 on D-Market, and numerous amounts all across here. So there is quite a fair few options out there. Not a ridiculous amount though. So yes, for a while this is looking like it's going to be doing all right. Hopefully it still stays like that for the rest of the year and does become a lot more of a positive thing. But I'm concerned once we hit around October time when most skins reach their lowest point for the year. Now I ask you, with your buy orders or with any purchases, did you pick up any? Feel free to comment below. But yeah, as of now, that's doing good. My price suggestion of 80 cents to $1.20 might have been a fair bit short, but these bars that you see here, they were definitely a later edition, right? So, just wanted to point that out. But yeah, I think I went a bit too low. Give it time now, once we hit October, let's see if I pick up any around then. But of course, that's in the further future. So as of now, 2 months later, yeah, I was just a bit short. Well then, $10? What? Oh, clearly people really happen to like this skin, right? The Heat Seeker collection became the hottest thing in 2025. So, Heat Seeker SAR. There were 2 submissions. There was the standard normal aim sight SAR and the transparent aim sight. And to my surprise, Facepunch accepted the transparent aim sight. The most transparency we've ever seen on a SAR skin at this specific point. It was even better than the $50 Imp SAR. And it was in the Rush store at $3 the very next week. And what followed was an MP5, and a Thompson, and a Python, and a Revolver. Now, not all of them have ridiculously insane transparent aim sights. Well, I mean, varying levels. But the AK is like the only one that doesn't really have that much. Yeah. So, why is this so expensive? Why is this currently the most expensive skin out of the full set? Because it was the very first one. This has been piggybacking of all the success that's followed it. And just to remind you, that did a respectable 19,000 subscribers. The SAR got close to 40,000. The MP5 did 65,000 plus subscribers. Thompson 34. And then these two, they're only just over 20,000 subscribers. In short, that was the only one that seems to have sold initially a respectable amount. These two have also done similar. Point is, if we never got those continuations, I'm under the impression that never would have gone up to that price. It's leeching from the success of the other skins that came out after it, because people wanted a full set. But as we're starting to cool off on this set now, you might have noticed that Seeker SAR and the Seeker MP5, they're not exactly doing it super insane. This has dropped off in price, considering we've just seen a Twitch drop with a transparent aim sight as well. Bit awkward, but yeah. I'll tell you what happened the very next Rust store when I saw it rotate in. I saw the SAR was accepted. I saw that the transparent aim sight SAR was the one that was accepted. I changed my buy order. I quickly switched from $1.80 to like $2.30, just went a little bit higher. Because I thought, well, I think that AK is going to probably be getting a lot more interest. Little did I know, it at one point sold for $25. So let me just quickly show you its sales history. Let's just go over to here. So if you could just quickly look all the way over to here. There you go. At this specific point, it did peak up to about $25 at the very beginning of June. But then it kind of went a bit funny. And, well, yeah, it's not that price anymore. It's sitting here at 10. So, okay, fair enough. Still great success. But did it earn it by itself? No. So yeah, a massive collection came out that a lot of people are going super insane for, and that's going to be a fun thing to talk about as we go through all of them and, you know, discuss how they turned out after 2 months. So keep an eye out for future profit review videos. So looking at the remaining skins, so I guess I will now talk about the Aztec Garage Door. That basically matched up to expectation. It went down in price. Now, I'll give it some credit. It's only down to half of its price, but still, it's half of its price. Yeah, we did see a ridiculous amount of garage doors being accepted this year, and it just kept on happening. I do believe at one point, actually, no, it's already happened, Hedge. Throughout all of May, I think we got 7 garage doors in total because we also had 2 Twitch drops. So that was awkward. But yeah, you take one quick look at all the garage doors so far this year, and you'll see for yourself. Unfortunately, we're up to 20. Yeah, 20. Yeah, I think it's 21. How many garage doors do we get this week? But yeah, point still remains. We're at the halfway point, and it looks like we're going to surpass the 34 that were accepted last year, introduced last year. We're going to get a record-breaking amount, and with so many garage doors being introduced in, well, a somewhat short amount of time, sort of, there's too many options. It's hard for them to maintain interest. It's hard for them to maintain their price. So inevitably suffer. Yes. So my 90 cents to $1.30 barter suggestion, did you manage to pick up any? I will sit here and say this. I did pick up a few, but I removed the barter because I was getting a bit too much. It doesn't look too bad when you look at it here, but there's not enough interest for the sales to really like pick up and improve and whatnot. So I don't think the interest is there. So, okay, cool. Understood. Crooked double barrel shotgun. Oh dear, I was off on this one. Now, initially, it did do quite alright. It actually did maintain its price quite nicely. But as time has gone on, it's just slowly going down more and more. I did remove my second buy order. But yeah, get a good look at this. Because we did see collection continuations. They did appear. They were accepted. But it's just been slowly trending downwards. Evidently, not enough people care. And yeah, I did end up removing some buy orders. I did buy a few. I did buy them for a cheaper price. Not going to be too upset about what I have. But yeah, even though we've like 3 skins in now, all these Croco skins, unfortunately, they're not exactly doing insane. So, yeah. Awkward. So, the price suggestion there, not exactly correct, no. Then we have the Predator Sword. This was also the other abnormal skin. Yeah, that just basically matched up to expectation. That just went all the way down to less than $1. Sold for $3. Initially, it was actually maintaining its price. But what was actually happening was nobody was buying it, nobody was selling it, it was just existing on the Steam market. So yes, the listings were above $3 for a while, but no one was actually buying it, and evidently went down. Not enough people care. Unfortunately, salvage swords, they're always like this. So I expected it, it happened. Ta-da. Then we have the likes of the Aztec Rock Door. So yeah, didn't really expect much of that. And as you can see here, it went down in price. Now, I don't even remember if I even did a barter in this. I gave a price suggestion, but I looked at it and thought, you know what? Meh. So did any of you pick these up? I went with 60 cents to 80 cents. Yeah, you probably would have bought some now, because that's now listed at 70 cents. It just went down. Not enough people cared, unfortunately. Now, it does look like it might start to trend upwards, but it's got some time. It's going to take a while, we'll see, but yeah. Then, of course, we now have the Tropico Sap. So, what happened? Why is it down in price? Well, it turns out we actually got quite a lot of sap skins all of a sudden. Yep, there you go. So, literally, the next week, we get a green sap with a very interesting red aim sight. And then literally the very next week after that, we get another green sap, Cocoa Sap. So, yeah, in such a short amount of time, we got quite a lot of sap skins. And evidently that wasn't so special anymore. So, yeah. But give it time. I'm sure they'll all end up like that eventually. You know, not really up in price that much, but still good. All of these right now, they're not exactly down super bad. So, the expectation was that. My price suggestion of $1 to $1.50. Was it fine? Let's go look at the listings. So $1.62 now. Buy orders at $1.40. I did buy a bunch of these. Yes, I did. But I think my buy order was more like $1.30 along the lines of that. And I still bought a bunch. But I'm fine with what I see there. I'm not concerned. I'll be able to flip them maybe around post-Christmas. I think it'll be all right. I'll give it time. Then we have the Jungle Bite Python. Yep, that went down in price. Pythons not seemingly appreciated that much. And then where's the justification to earn skins? Bam. Yeah, matched up to expectation. Went down. The price suggestion of 60 cents to 80 cents. Well, you probably bought a few. But yeah, wouldn't surprise me if you probably removed some of your barders. I have picked up a few of these for super cheap though. For like 60 cents. So I'm happy. I'm not going to complain about that. And then we have... Oh no, that's everything. We're all done. Yeah, that was quick. Ta-da. So... Not too much was expected. In some instances, that went a bit funny, and in the other, in the other instances, yeah, okay, then that was expected. But it's nice to see that holding up, and it's nice to see people actually looking forward to more and more interesting skins in a certain collection for the summer of 2025. So, all right, cool. It felt like a quiet week, but what followed? Oh, it turned into a fun time. So let's now go ahead and give it a nice little preview for the next week. Do we see more skins being accepted? Oh, yes, indeed we do. So, yeah. Oh, everyone was so happy to see an orange set being accepted. After so many people on their knees hoping and praying for a green clothing and armor set, tiger hoodie and pants. That was a fun time. But Tire Collection did get boots and gloves. That was nice as well. A nice green armored double door. That was a very interesting sight to see. So overall, it was a pretty cool looking Rustore. We'll talk about that next week. So overall, feel free to comment below if you've managed to pick up any of these skins for a cheaper price. If you've actually managed to make any flips and whatnot. Best of luck with you and your investments. Hopefully things pick up as we go through July and August. Hopefully. But yeah, maybe you might not get any really good profits until we reach January 2026. We'll see how things roll out. So once again, best of luck to you. Have a lovely day, and let's see next week and talk about all those skins.